Hi, folks, and welcome to We Built This White Lake podcast. My name is Amy Van Loon. I'm the Executive Director of the White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, and we are your host and sponsor for We Built This White Lake podcast series, which is produced right here in CatchMark Technology Studios in downtown Whitehall. And today, our guests come from Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp. Welcome to Andy and Stacy. I am so glad to have you here in the podcast studio and looking forward to hearing about not only the camp, but also the history of and looking forward. So welcome. And Andy, I'm going to go ahead and have you kick it off and tell us a little bit about Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having us here. We're actually thrilled to be here today and talk about camp. It's one thing that we have no problem talking about because we love our camp and we're very proud of what we do and the impact that we make on people's lives here. I mean, They sound a little cliche, but it is true, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But we are a summer fine arts camp. We're located in the Manistee Forest, not far from here. We have about 1,600 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I didn't realize that
it is
many.
very big. We don't utilize all of that. So we've, over the years, and you talk about history, we've acquired property around the camp so that kind of provide a buffer, right? So that, there's a noise element. We don't want a lot of noise going on when we have a concert going, a performance going on in our shell during the summer. So over the years, the powers that be have just accumulated some property around there. So we own a big chunk of it. It's a wonderful place to work. We'll be looking out our windows and the deer will come by in the summer.
Wow.
In the winter time. And then, of course, in the summer, it's kids walking by, millions of them. So it changes quite drastically, as you might imagine. It's very quiet right now.
Okay, yeah.
But in the summer, our primary focus is a summer arts camp. And we have 4 sessions, and we serve kids everywhere from about 5th grade to 12th grade.
Okay.
And we were started as a music camp, primarily band and orchestra, but over the years we have added other kinds of art disciplines. We've added a theater, we've added dance, we've added basic art. I always what do we call it?
Visual arts.
Visual arts, thank you.
Creative writing.
Creative writing is a new subject matter, so kids come. Most of our campers come from the Midwest and from Michigan, but we'll have in a normal year and a pre-pandemic year, we were up to about 5,000 students that would come every year. So about 1,200. Yeah, so it's like a college campus. If you're out there, it's busy, And so we some of the other things that we operate, though, that people might know us for is that we also operate Blue Lake Public Radio, which is a classical and jazz station, and is one of the primary emergency stations also for our area. So people can tune into that. So not only do we serve the community from the standpoint of just providing good music and cultural aspects, it serves as the voice of the arts in West Michigan. So all of the other arts organizations can advertise. I know we don't use the term advertise in public radio, but promote their events that are going on. So that could be the West Michigan Symphony, the Grand Rapids Symphony, the Arts Council down the street, and all those folks are all, partners of ours, so that we not only do that, we promote all the other arts organizations in the community. And then we also operate an international exchange program. So that's been going on for many years, since the early 80s, and we'll send several groups over to Europe, and they will tour very small communities, stay there. They have host families that put them up overnight, and they perform concerts. This year, we're sending a band and orchestra and a jazz band. Next year, we hope to go back and send a choir over there. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I think that might be of interest to the folks in the area is that we have the Summer Arts Festival, which we talked about, which brings performances of our staff and then our faculty. Our faculty are absolutely gifted musicians themselves, right? So they come here, and most of them are either high school, and a lot of college professors come here. And of course, imagine that they're very talented musicians themselves.
Sure.
So the festival orchestra that we have is just top notch. It's like going to see any kind of orchestra. Yeah. And these are free to the public. And our program will be out later this year. We haven't quite finalized the dates and the performances, but I would encourage everybody to look at those. But those are great, and several of those are actually broadcast live on Blue Lake Public Radio, too, during the year. So I miss anything, Stacey?
You got it. Well, we do also offer in the summer a Suzuki program as well.
That's right.
So that happens kind of before the summer camp gets going.
All right.
And then this summer, a part of the Summer Arts Festival, we're doing a festival chorus, which is for our alums, which are pretty vast since we've been around since 1966. But we're performing Andre Thomas's Mass, a celebration of love and joy. And so people can, if they're an alum or a concert goer, just a lover of Blue Lake, they can join. In two ways, they can join and come for rehearsals and performances starting in July, or they can join our Lifelong Arts, which is for our adult campers that have young at heart, still musicians and artists, and want to connect with others for fellowship. So there's opportunities for that too.
That is awesome. I had the opportunity to tour the facilities a few years back. And then I returned in the summer when there were campers on site in a totally different world. And then I walked into the kitchen and I walked into the cafeteria. Share with our viewers a little bit about, how you accommodate these campers. That food service was amazing, and just feeding the campers. Again,
not my area of expertise, but I do know I'm the one. I'm as also working in finance. I see the food bills all the time, so I know it's a lot. But we, like I said, we'll have 1,200 kids on camp, and we're feeding them. And you're right that our cafeteria is like the size of a football field. I mean, if you go inside it, it's amazing. Stacy's husband, Josh, is our director of student services, so he knows all about all that. But we have a food service director that comes in, and they've been people who work in school systems during the normal school year, and then they come in and help us during the summer, so they know how to select the menus and make sure that they're nutritional and follow the same guidelines that they follow in school systems. And order stuff for us. But it is an operation, and we will hire, and I know we get back to this later, but we'll have 600 or more seasonal employees out there.
Wow.
And food service is a big chunk of that. And and so from an economic impact to the local community, which I have some numbers later, is that we hire a lot of especially the food service and support staff come from the local area. Okay. And so we are providing jobs to young kids or people that need work during the summer, and a lot of our counselors and our faculty come from all over the country. But most of the support staff, food service that will operate the camp store, all those people are employed here, just like Michigan Adventure would employ a lot of summer people. We do the same, and I just people don't understand that we go from 25-ish year-round employees to almost 700 employees in the summer.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Additionally, while I was visiting the facilities and such, I also had returned to see a concert. Okay. And I was blown away by the talent and the amazing performances that they put out. And maybe take this opportunity to talk about a little on those performances and concerts and such.
I mean, we have renowned directors that come and rehearse and prepare with our faculty that perform. Everybody's incredibly talented. Yes. That's just what it comes down to. And everybody, once you are in Blue Lake, it's like a family. And so people return year after year after year. And so I think a lot of our audience are connected to that as well.
And we have an artistic director who is just essentially a part-time employee, but he's essentially a consultant that heads that up, Alex Jimenez, and he's I don't know what his official title is, Big Cheese of Music Department or whatever at Florida State University, but he's like the dean, but he's just amazingly talented, and he actually goes and guest conducts all over the world, and then he comes here and spends a couple summers and works with the kids, but also will lead that festival orchestra, which is made up of our faculty members and some of our more talented counselors, because a lot of the counselors that we get from across the country are interested in music in some form or fashion, either from a performance angle or just they want to be a music teacher. And so you imagine some of those folks are very talented musicians, and many of them are former Blue Lake campers too, which is always kind of fun. And so we've had stories where someone's been a camper, a counselor, a unit director, which kind of oversees a whole group of counselors. And then they come back and are a faculty member. So it's kind of fun,
Share with our viewers a little bit of the history and
Okay.
how Blue Lake became what it is today.
Okay, so some people around here would know the name Fritz and Gretchen Stanzel. Okay, so they're the visionaries behind
Okay.
this, and it's really remarkable what they've done. And I'm in awe of what they do. I've only been here for 4 years, but I've known about the camp and the radio station. But the more I've been involved with the organization, the more I'm in awe of how they've accomplished and grown this from their vision. It started back, Fritz's grandfather in Wisconsin had something called the Aaron's Arts Colony, so it was inspired from that. And they just saw an opportunity to provide a music and arts education to students, particularly. And the one thing that makes us unique compared to maybe some other arts camps is that we take anybody at any level of ability.
Okay.
So you can come in and having barely played and be like a mediocre tuba player like I was in high school. I didn't come to camp, but I mean, the point is we take everybody. And so I think that's the philosophy behind us, is that we want to provide arts education to all, and we serve everybody. And we try to reach out to underrepresented groups. We try to reach across the state of Michigan so that we're getting folks from all across the state, from the region. And it doesn't matter. So when they come here, though, we will place them in an orchestra or band or our program that fits their level of talent, okay, so that they can continue to grow. But you don't have to be, a great musician or a great artist to come here. It's about learning and growing. And so I think that's the beauty of what's happened here. And then, of course, over the years, as we talked about earlier, they just continued to add arts programming to beyond just band and orchestra. And then, of course, Gretchen, who was the visionary behind the international exchange program. So that's also started, I believe, in the early 80s. And we've been going over. At one point, Heidi said, yeah, I should add, Heidi Stanzel, our president, interim president and CEO, is the daughter of Fritz and Gretchen. And she's now leading the organization, doing an amazing job, of course, carrying on the vision of her family here. And it's amazing what they've been able to accomplish and continue to grow, and go from there. I don't know, Stacy, any other things you would add?
No, I think that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
in 1982 was when the radio started.
Oh, the radio. Thank
just
you.
a little timestamp. And then our 50th anniversary was in 2016. So, I mean, just a lot of amazing milestones that Blue Lake has been here for.
Yeah, the radio station was a nice add, and thank you for reminding me, Stacey. I know I mentioned it earlier, but because that was also complementary of what we wanted to talk about the arts, right? So that we remain one of the few classical and jazz stations in the country that actually has live, disc jockeys, for lack of it, or classical announcers on. We have 3 of them: Bonnie Bierman in the morning, Foley Shula in the afternoon, and then Lazaro Vega at night is a very great jazz program if you're into it, and he is very widely known across the country. So we have a lot of. We joke, we just had an event a couple of weeks ago, where some of our listeners could meet them, and it was like they were meeting rock stars or something. They all have their own little following, and it's interesting.
Well, they heard the voice across the way, like, oh, that's Bonnie.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
It's great.
That is great.
Yeah, so that complemented this whole idea of promoting the arts. Yeah.
As the camp has developed and diversified and adding this program and that program, what have been some of those hurdles, some of those challenges that have been overcome and encountered?
Well, clearly the most recent challenge we faced was when we had the pandemic in 2020, right? So for the first time in our camp's history, we had to close completely, right? So we had no camp at all. And, as an organization that relies a lot on tuition, that was a big financial, that's my other hat, is in finance, right? So it was a big hurdle to overcome that, but it was the right call. We had to do it. We got great support from our donors. We also, took advantage of some of the COVID relief programs that helped us through that. So clearly, from a financial standpoint, just from an impact on, that was a shock. And I know we're not the only organization that went through that. So But I personally went through that, and that was a big challenge. And so we're rebuilding from that, just like other organizations still. Yeah, trying, we lost a whole year of people. We have a pretty good return rate from kids that, that come, and they love it so much that they come the next year again. So when you lose a year, those people didn't have an opportunity to understand what camp was all about. So recruiting them to come the next year was a little more challenging. So that's been the biggest challenge. But I mean, again, thanks to our supporters and our donors and to some of the programs we're here, and we're thriving again, and we're looking forward to a future. So that's a big challenge. And I think just the other challenges you might face is growing, is a nonprofit, right? So we are a 501c3. So, it's hard. We don't have a lot of extra cash, so we have to plan accordingly. So just challenging and planning and knowing, kind of having a visionary, what the future brings, right? And having a lot of faith. And this is where I just, in awe of Fritz and Gretchen, is the visionary and the faith they had in growing, and just taking those leaps of faith and knowing that this camp can grow, and that this, the old, Field of Dreams song, if you build it, they will come, right? Well, it's kind of what's happened here, and so that's what's really nice. So that, I'd say, that was a challenge. I know a lot of your other folks in the community would probably say something similar.
They do, and I think everyone experienced that challenge differently, and also recuperated differently, and some are still recovering, from that. So you've, with those challenges and hurdles come the victories, and you've already kind of shared with that. Stacy, what have you seen in the past year as some of those victories and some of those things that you can really put a feather in your cap and say, "Wow, we did this"?
I mean, I think some of the most rewarding part of our job and our victories they come from our alums and the kids that receive scholarships to come to camp.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, we have alums right back from 1966. We talk to people who met on camp, who got married. We have people that'll say, "It's been 40 years since I took the international tour, and I still talk to my host family." Like those kind of worldwide connections are real, and we hear about them all the time, and it makes you, kind of emotional. And then we have a scholarship program to help kids who may not otherwise be able to attend camp, and we get letters from them. We had somebody crochet us some octopi and send them to camp as a thank you. Like they're so thankful and excited to be part of the arts and get to come to camp and make new friends and explore their passion. And it's just, that's the best. You talked about, what does the cafeteria look like? I think about the woods and what it sounds like and what it feels like to see all of them coming together, especially these kids that maybe didn't get arts programming when the pandemic happened, and now that's just kind of opened back up to them. That's really rewarding to see too.
What do you feel is the biggest part of the Fine Arts Camp that has impacted the community? How has that influenced our White Lake area the most?
Well, from an economic standpoint, of course, it's I think people don't understand, and I've got my little economic impact thing, because I share that. I share that when we're writing grants and other things. So I don't think people fully understand what impact we have. But we will have over 600 people here, year round, and in the summer, and our total payroll's over $3 million, right? So, which I don't think you think is a sleepy little day camp. So it's I'd say very complicated organization.
Robust.
Yeah, and robust more than you would think. We always joke, like, people always say, "Well, what do you do the rest of the year?" Like, you sit around for 9 months just eating s'mores at the fire. Right? But I mean, the point we're planning, the planning that goes in and for each year, they're hiring people right now. And, Stacey's husband, Josh, is our director of student services. Will be hiring counselors and getting ready and getting everything in place in terms of training and all those things. Those things take place, earlier than that. But, I think this is something, so I always say that, so I've estimated that we'll have 6,000 overnight hotel stays that we generate here, right?
All right.
And that's probably conservative, so that's $45,000 in a hotel tax that we generate.
Thank you.
Right? And I said that to,
that's great.
Yeah, Bob down at the Tourism Bureau one time too. I said, "You're welcome, Bob." No, just kidding. And then just the impact on the community, because people come here and they come to White Lake and they spend money here in your shops, right? And they go to Peckadills, or they go to any of the other various places here, or Fetchburg, or whatever they be. I don't want to single out people and here and not know the other ones, but that we generate $72,000 in state sales tax just from people coming, visiting, and spending money locally here. So when you add it all up, and we actually do pay property tax, even though we're a nonprofit so we have to pay property tax on the property that we don't have in use for the camp. So like that buffer area I talked about. So we generate over $300,000 worth of state and local taxes from that. So it's a sizable economic impact that we have there.
Yeah.
Impact-wise, other than that, Stacy touched on some of those things, the impact that we have on people's lives, We were down at our Stuart Shell, which is, where we have our performing arts in the summer, and we have some people they can buy a seat, right? And they can they can dedicate it, right? And put a plate on. We're looking through, and I walked through, and I saw actually someone was a famous economist, fairly famous economist who had bought a. So it's not just people who come to camp that are music related. These people become very successful, and they've become very successful in other endeavors of their lives. And I think, again, probably preaching the choir here, but the importance of arts education to the overall development of the kids and what that translates to them later in life, I think is.
Yeah, I agree. You indeed have created a name for yourself. And sometimes when we are out promoting our area, every once in a while we'll say, is that near Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp? And
there you go.
Shirts and I'm like, well, it just so happens. And they have a story. I used to go there, or my kids now go there. And so you have really established a reputation as well as a well-known, well-oiled machine operating out there. So we're really proud of that. Oh. Share with our viewers where you're located. Do you have an address, or do you have?
We do.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part. I always joke, you don't just happen upon us.
Right.
Hence our pause.
Which is good because it's nice to be a little isolated when you're having a summer camp. But we're right off of Russell Road, just north of White Lake Road. So if you got off of 31 heading north, right, and if you're heading north, you get off at the Russell Road exit, right?
Yep.
As people would do maybe to go to Michigan Adventure. Instead of turning left to Michigan Adventure, you just keep going straight for about another mile. And then you'll see a little sign, and it says Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp.
Yes.
We do have nice directional signs on the highways to get people there, but you don't just happen upon us. So people. They kind of heard of us, and people in Mesquite, I don't know where that is.
Right.
Well, no, because we're in the middle of the woods, right?
Yeah. You are uniquely located. And social media has really taken a big part of the organization as well. Stacy, share with us a little bit about how that plays a part in what you do.
Sure. So we are on Facebook and Instagram. So we're at Blue Lake Official if you want to follow us. But we use our social media to communicate events, to share about enrollment, scholarship opportunities, programs that are coming, alumni communication, just as much as we can. We're using it to be a platform to share about the unique experiences that you can have at Blue Lake.
I think, and just to toot Stacy's horn a little bit from last year, because she started, I think one of the nice things is getting some content out there during camp so that the parents and folks can see what's happening, right? And
that's true, yes. We do try to show the different sessions and what the kids are doing.
And maybe they get to see their kid performing. And
you brought with you a prop. And I'm going to go ahead and cue the Blue Lake Fine Arts Festival catalog. It's a great piece. We love having it, in our chamber. And I know this is last year's because you're probably in the process of putting together this year's.
We are in the process, which is quite a project. So this is last year's, yes. And so we'll use this. This contains all of our information about our conductors, our performance, how you can connect with us, donate, things like that. It has our schedule. It also has advertising opportunities. If you're interested, you can contact me or Andy. Nice. I'll save that with you. And that's great because this
is what we're looking at.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe the content will definitely change from last year's, but same layout with those supporters and partners.
Yes,
great.
But we get, for our campers, our families, for our concert goers, it's almost 5,000 to 6,000 people that are in our camp at a time that are seeing this guide, and so we really appreciate that.
Great. This probably can also be found online.
Last year's, yes.
Okay. All right. But once you have it produced for this year, we look forward to seeing that. That's great. What kind of parting message would you want to leave with our viewers?
Yeah. We just wanted to share again to, connect with us on social media.
Great.
You can visit our website, which is bluelake.org. If you want to donate or help a kid come to camp, there are opportunities for that. Just to support the arts and culture at Blue Lake. And you can always tune into our radio station. If you're West Michigan or Lakeshore, that's 90.3. If you're Grand Rapids, it's 88.9. So that's always a fun way to tune in with us.
Great. Well,
Yeah, I would just encourage people to come out and see the camp, come to one of our performances.
Yep.
Or like as Stacy said, if you have the opportunity and the means to support us in any way, whether it's supporting the radio station, which people have been very generous again lately, and then also like scholarship needs, because we do have a need. There's still quite a few kids out there still who would love to come that just can't afford the full price. And so we provide both merit-based scholarships and then financial aid scholarships to students. And so most students, a good vast majority, come with some kind of scholarship in hand. So. But yeah, just come and see one of the concerts, and I think you'll be impressed how big it is.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're free and open to the public. So.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for
thank you,
joining
Amy.
us here in the podcast studio. It's great to see that the Fine Arts Camp is still going strong and continues to grow. And thank you for joining in and hearing about the Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp and what they have to offer. You may refer to their website as well as social media for additional reference and information. And I do want to just echo those words and encourage our viewers and our community to get out there and see what it is all about, because it is an amazing site. With that, we will see you next time.